Good morning. Annie's gonna call the roll call.
Ms. Vedder.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards. Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
We good? Okay. So, if you have your agenda, you'll see that the original thing was to have the request for the proposal overview, but I'm gonna hold that for just a moment because, the Board of Elections has to get to the Board of Elections issues down in Bloomingburg, so I'm asking for their report first.
Thank you. Basically, you said it all when you said Bloomingburg. The other thing we're dealing with is we have some issues with the state. They still have some court cases pending for judicial district races and stuff, so we can't order the ballots and you know, the time frame is really getting crazy for that too. So every time you think you've got an answer, you find out you don't, and you just keep going from day to day. And that's, you know, we're still doing the regular, normal day-to-day thing. So basically, at this point, we're back in court probably a couple more times on the Bloomingburg issue. That the dates for some of those things got changed. We're dealing with the end of October, towards the end of October for getting questionnaires back from objected to voters. And you'll probably be back in court in November a couple times.
Would you just give a brief summary of what's going on down there in Bloomingburg, because maybe people.
We were in court over the vote to dissolve the village, and the judge's decision was that we do affidavit ballots, and we had to start with, we have 362 registered voters there. We had approximately 240 of those voters were their right to be registered to vote in Bloomingburg was objected to. So that's a pretty tough deal. So the judge ruled that we would do the election on September 30th and do it all by affidavit ballot. So it means you vote on a paper ballot, you fold it, you put it in an envelope, seal the envelope, and put your name, address, and it's kind of like a registration form on the outside of the envelope, and put it in the box, and it comes back and it's locked in storage until we can go through the objections, find out who should vote and who shouldn't vote. I can tell you that there are two sides to the fence in Bloomingburg, that's obvious, and there's objections from both sides, so no matter what we decide, we will end up in court at least once or twice over those issues, and you know, it's just wait and see. And then we have Jewish holidays involved also, that's part of the time frame issue. I just hope they don't get into the first day of rifle season and the NRA starting up on, I believe it's the 17th, back in 1870, that's the centennial, and then we got Thanksgiving, so.
I just want to clarify, because I do respect and appreciate the right to vote and the privacy of the voting booth, but having signed on the outside of the envelopes, you're not going to be opening up the envelopes and looking at the ballot prior to the validation. And I just want to clarify that for everybody.
Absolutely, and what happens is, it's the same as if you vote absentee ballot. You also sign the outside of the envelope for that. But none of these are open in private. These are all open in public sessions. People are allowed to come and witness it. And what happens is you turn the envelope over, you open it, you take the folded ballot out and put a bunch of them in a pile. The envelopes are in this pile, and you get rid of the envelopes, you shuffle the ballots, and you count them. And I can tell you that there will be attorneys from all sides of the fence there watching and making sure that that's exactly what happens, and that's the way we do it anyway. So.
I appreciate the clarification and the job that your department is doing. Thank you.
The judge felt that this was the only way to, there was an argument about if you let some people vote on a machine and you make other people vote by affidavit, that's prejudicial, and so he said, well, we'll just change it. We'll have everybody vote on paper and put it in the envelope, and we'll hold them all.
Voting by a sealed ballot is contrary to both election law and in particular village election law, which is why we had to go to court, and we're only acting in accordance with a court order in an attempt to maintain a fair election. But the election won't be decided. We have deadlines that go well into November, and we can anticipate perhaps that this election will be settled in December.
Thank you.
Kitty, if I may, if anyone questions the propriety of that situation, one of the sides challenged it to the appellate division. Lori handled that, and the appellate division chose not to reverse Judge Schick's decision. They thought it was a proper, appropriate way to handle this situation. So all avenues have been followed. So there's nothing, incorrect or improper here. It's the only way to be able to, you have 200 and some odd challenged voters in an election where there's only another 50 some odd not challenged voters. The only way to keep it fair, as it were, is to put them all in the box together on affidavit.
I
That
just
was the judge's
appreciate the
decision.
fact that it's happening, that it shows the power of the vote and the importance of the secrecy of the decision of your ballot, whoever you are and whatever you're deciding. So I'm very glad that you're maintaining to the court rules and that the court is looking at that as important. So thank you for doing that.
And we, as the Board of Elections, owe a debt of gratitude to Lori, to Tom, and the County Attorney's Office, who have been outstanding in the work that they've had to take on, which has been significant at a very busy time for them as well, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions for?
The reason I'm asking that, I hope I'm not out of order, but we would like to get back to work on something.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. Going back to the agenda as it was originally done is discussion items, which is about the request for proposal overview. I asked Kathy Jones to give an explanation as to how a request for proposal occurs, why it occurs that way, and what the differences are. So Kathy, you're up.
Okay, I did a handout for you which has samples of RFPs we've done in the past and just a brief overview of what the RFP process is about, and I'll just go through it quickly. The RFP process is a purchasing method used to procure services that are usually professional services, but not always. I could sometimes call them unique services. The handout will show you the sampling. There is a formal RFP that has an advertisement and is issued if the services are over 50,000. I use a sealed proposal method if a service is under 50,000, and that's without an advertisement. Saves money and time. There's an RFP that we can use when we do a grant application, where the grants require that you have procured the service already but not awarded. So we have to get usually 3 statements of qualifications. Then we go through the process, then we award after the grant. I don't know who usually, it's either through Art's office or it can be any grant approval process where they say, now you can go ahead. RFPs with predetermined rates, I use that a lot, where I'll put the rate in the RFP so that the vendor cannot, if they're interested, that's the only rate they can give. Hourly, yearly. Angela, you can maybe help me with samples of that, but I do that a lot.
Some of the doctors.
Yeah,
you do
doctors,
that.
physical therapists, that kind of thing. RFPs are then reviewed by the using departments. Sometimes a committee is used, and a recommendation is then made to award. Either it'll come through the committee with a contract resolution, or a purchase order can be issued. My department always, with concurrence with the county manager's office or the department, county attorney's office, can determine the most advantageous way to procure something using these methods. Excuse me. All departments are encouraged to communicate the service that's required with me, the timeframes they need, the deliverables required, so that we can make the spec very clear, and the award will be successful. Excuse me.
The purpose of having this discussion was to clarify some information that sometimes it's not going to the lowest bidder. There is these other qualifications in it.
Yeah, the RFP process is awarded to the most advantageous, what's best for the department, what best meets the needs. It's not always the price. And I liken it to going to a doctor. You don't always go to the lowest cost. You go to the one with the most experience.
Is that the best value part of it too, or is that a different tool?
That's a different,
Okay,
best value can't be used for RFPs.
okay.
Or bids.
So not necessarily the lowest bid, but you look at the quality and the experience
Right,
as well?
quality experience.
Because this is a professional service rather than a product. I think that's where the distinction is.
Well, for instance, if you were gonna go for an accounting or an auditing firm, there's so many different things that a firm can specialize in. So I might put in a proposal and it might be very low, but my experience is all in tax, and I'm gonna try to wing it, but try to, as I'm gonna do your audit. And I'll do it cheap, but I might not do a really good job, cause my experience is in taxation. But yet here's a firm who has governmental auditing experience, they're a little bit more money, but they have, you wanna get something for your dollar too. So if that firm can really bring something to the table, help you enhance your controls, the way you're doing things and financial statements, so that's when it's the quality of the work. And so that's one of the examples when you might not use the lowest person, but the person who would really bring the best services to the table for the county.
So it's kind of like the people, not the product.
Well, if the product would be their service, and if
Right,
it's
but I'm
real-
saying it's
but
not a thing that you're getting, it's not a
Right,
dozen eggs.
I'm not gonna buy
No, it's a service.
a dozen eggs or a case of paper where you can get that from this whole slew of people, and it's the same thing. Services are a little bit different because it's really the quality of their work and what you can get out of it.
The law recognizes a difference between procured services, as Kathy usually said, are usually what people would deem professional services. If we're paving a road, that's a bid, that's a service-oriented goods and services together combined. But the county as a municipality is not required to hire the cheapest doctor, the cheapest accountant, the cheapest lawyer, because that may not be an interest where quite often a professional service engineering at the landfill and whatnot, Ed McAnder and his staff would look at the series of the RFPs that help put it together, and in their opinion, this particular firm, because of their expertise, local knowledge, because they've worked with us before, rather than bring somebody new who's never done this type of project, as Angela said, that's of no, halfway through the project, because we got the cheapest guy, we realized they're not doing a good job and we have to rebid it, and there's a significant loss. So when the thought process is that it is cost effective in the sense that that's the best vendor for the job that the department and or the county needs done. And the law recognizes a distinction between something you have to bid under 103 and you're required to award to the lowest responsible bidder as opposed to an RFP.
Is it a cost benefit, and what, are you gonna get a good benefit for that cost?
Thank you, and I appreciate this explanation. I think moving forward, this explanation is gonna be important with the various services that we are looking to procure, that perhaps in the past we were getting the lowest priced, but not getting the services that we needed done, and that's the reason why I asked for this discussion today.
I just had a question. So would you tend to award to the same vendor based on the fact that they may have experience with the county government in the past?
It could be one of the determining factors. It could be.
So you could have vendors that have been working with the county for years.
It could be a determining factor.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily,
But the RFP would go back out, and they might be a part of the mix again, right? So you're not,
They're always part of the mix again. The vendor list is kept.
and how
current.
often do you do that? If you,
It would depend on what the contract period is for
Mhm.
something. If you look at the samples, some of them are just for months, some of them are for years. But it's usually yearly basis because of the budget.
so on a yearly basis, you would send another RFP out, and the same vendor may apply, or?
Because sometimes in the RFP, if you're happy with the service, we do allow, upon mutual agreement, for the contract to be extended an additional year on a yearly basis under the same terms and conditions usually. That
Sometimes
way-
it might depend on like what the industry standards are, so sometimes it might
Yes.
say for 2 consecutive years, for 3 consecutive years,
Yes.
so I think it varies depending on,
Yeah, I
what the
could-
service is.
Probably all of these I could show you, you wanted to come to my office, the contract periods on most of them, and they'll differ greatly.
And with the
So-
same terms and conditions, you're at least locking them into that same rate.
Right.
Normally, if you put it out each year, there's the likelihood that the rates are gonna go up. People are looking to,
Make money.
incorporate their added expenses in with the price of gas, electric, and whatever else. So that does hold them to that price.
Well, I believe if our purchasing department or our department heads are doing their jobs, we don't have a problem with this. I don't understand who we're explaining this to.
But the award itself,
Thank you,
is
Jean.
determined, by a committee through the departments, right?
Again, it depends what it is. It'll always come to committee, but you might have various offices looking at the services depending on what it is. The auditing, which is out now, you would have OMB looking at it, you would have audit look at it, you would have the treasurer's department looking at it when when the proposals come back. Some offices for engineering services, like for DPW, it would only be Ed looking at it. It would
Well,
depends.
Yeah, we'll.
With
in-
your staff,
When it's
yes.
in DPW, we'll have 3 people rating it, we'll have a rating sheet, everybody will rate for the same things at the percentages. Local knowledge, maybe 10%. Skills with a bridge design, maybe 50%. And we'll all rate them, and then we'll compare the 3 at the end of the day and come up with one consultant that we're gonna hire.
Okay, and just one more quick question. As far as, the RFP without the approval, the 50,000, that's like the cap rate, that's like
Without
the,
approval, what do you mean?
sealed
The
proposal
seal.
without is issued if services are under $50,000. So, anything under that doesn't need that process, right?
The only thing that's different is it's without advertisement and that time frame with the legal notices. The formal RFP, usually, it's out for 2 weeks. I have to put a formal legal notice in the papers, and
For anything over 50, I'm confused.
yes,
No,
yes,
nothing under 50.
right. Under 50, I would do a sealed proposal where I'd put it out and I'd have a time that it's due back. And then, I wait for all of them to be given to me, and then we'd open them or look at them and review them and summarize them, and then give it to the office.
Now, was that number always at 50? Or was
No,
it there?
that just changed during the summer, I think we changed it, there was a formal resolution that changed the amount.
I believe it was in June.
And what was it before?
10,
Some for 20.
some for 20, some for 20, and otherwise 10.
Okay, and was there a reason for the change in the summer?
Yes. I wanted to change it, and I had, I know when I had asked for this, I had polled various counties to see what they were doing. I wanted to do it because I have so many that I need to do all the time, and the advertising was costly. And also the time frame. When you have to do a legal notice in the paper, it lengthens the time of the service while it's, the RFP process while it's out. And I needed to shorten that so I could get more done.
Okay, I got it, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Kathy, for doing that, and now it's time for your monthly report.
Okay. We opened bids for ice control material for DPW, and we opened bids for generators for the emergency communications project. And those were all the bids that we did. And then we processed 191 purchase orders last month, and the recyclables report is available for anyone who wants it.
Thank you. It's time for Cornell Cooperative Extension, and I want to first ask Pat if she would come to the table. Pat is, any place. Pat had been the interim director of Cornell, and I think she's done a fantastic job, and I wanted to thank her. She has spread the joy of Cornell, even with the loss of our former leader of Cornell, and helped in the search, and that's in her retirement. And Pat's continuing on to work in retirement, going further could you tell us what you're heading for now,
Sure.
Pat?
And we'll share a little bit more, Colleen and I, but we just returned from a conference at Cornell yesterday for like 2 days, and we went around and we introduced ourselves, and I explained to them where I started in terms of retirement. And one lady looked at me and she said, "You give retirement a bad name." So what I'm doing now after leaving Rockland and Sullivan, I'm not left completely. I'll continue in Rockland County with Cooperative Extension there. And I'll probably be working the next 6 months with the State Extension Office at Cornell to help them until they hire a new state extension specialist to cover the Leather Stocking District and Capital District. So I'm like the bad penny, I won't go away.
I just really wanted to thank you from the
Thank
Government
you.
Services Committee to say thank you for the interim job that you've done. And we're looking forward to the work that you're sending on. And Joan, who is the president, perhaps will introduce further. Please.
We're here in full force from Cooperative Extension, Sullivan County.
I just want to echo what you said about Pat. Pat has been terrific for us in this interim period when Greg left, and because of Pat's knowledge, experience, contacts, and just her being, we've made a lot of progress. We have, I should know, the search committees at Cooperative Extension, and we're gonna start hiring ourselves out as experts in searches. Cause we can do it better than anybody else. But we, I don't know how many searches ago, made a commitment that we would not settle for someone who had the qualifications but wasn't right for the job. And we are really excited that this last search process, which ended 2 weeks ago when the association board unanimously and enthusiastically appointed Colleen Monahan as our new executive director. Colleen comes to us with a wealth of knowledge, experience, and one of the things that impressed everybody was in the interview process when she said, I know it's time to move on from what I'm doing, but I would not apply for a job to work someplace where I did not believe in their mission. So we're really excited to have Colleen, and she started on Monday, spent 2 days in Ithaca, and is here today. So over the next few weeks, I hope you all get an opportunity to meet her, sit down, talk to her. We're just really excited. I'm going to let Colleen give you a little bit of her background, and as I say, we've hit the ground running. Just a couple of other things so we can move on quickly. For those of you who don't know it, on November 9th, we are having our centennial gala celebration. It's at noon. It's lunch at Bernie's, which is now called something else.
Sullivan's next door.
BHR, okay.
But same thing. Everybody knows it as Bernie's.
This is our big centennial event. 2014 is our centennial year. Not only are we planning a delicious meal, but we are having a silent and a live auction, all centered around, the auction items are all centered around the products and the talent in Sullivan County. So, hope you all can come.
And dress for it.
Oh, yes, and the theme, because it's our centennial, is travel back in time with us, and we're asking folks to dress in their favorite decade of the last 10 decades. So it should be a fun event, and I just want to encourage you all to be there.
And it's in Rock
Thank you.
Hill.
And it's in Rock Hill, yeah. This Saturday,
I gotta grow my hair back.
the Villa Roma is introducing a new chef with a farm-to-table dinner where they are sharing the proceeds. This was their initiative, sharing the proceeds with Cooperative Extension. And finally, real exciting, we have, with the help of Phil Coombe and Jerry Skoda, been out there raising money in our centennial campaign. We have raised enough money that within the next, as soon as Colleen gets the building permit, within the next few weeks, we will be putting a new roof on the building. It's going to be a metal roof, similar to the roof that's on the this complex right over here. And we will be insulating the building with state-of-the-art insulation, which will, in the long run, cut our energy bills. This is the first phase of our plans for the building. Hopefully we'll get this phase accomplished before the snow flies. And next spring we will start on the rest of the project, which will include the HVAC system. We know that there are more modern energy efficient units. And we will, if everything goes right, be attaching a atrium-like real greenhouse to the building for the use of extension education. It'll be right next to the kitchen and right next to the classroom. So we're pretty excited. Sorry, Ed, we didn't need the bucket of tar.
I just saw a sign of relief from Ed, because we talked about that roof for a couple of years, and with the fiscal stress the county had, and there was some hesitation about selling the building to you, but we're so happy we did it, and you're doing a great job, and thank you so much.
So we're pretty excited.
Great.
So I'm going to introduce Colleen Monahan to you.
Well, before you do that, I'm glad you took a cue from the old farmers. Metal roofs are the way to go.
Yeah,
Old is new again,
that's true.
And Joan, can I have that in your hand?
and the snow just falls right off.
And there was quite a bit of discussion around the roof.
Just don't put it over.
Colleen.
I didn't say all the old farmers are
Please join
smart.
us. Welcome to the Government Services Committee.
Welcome.
Maybe you could all just say who you are, so Colleen knows.
Cooperative Extension, take charge.
Scott Samuelson, District 1 Chairman of the Legislature.
Jonathan Rose, District 4. Alan Sorensen, District 9 Legislator.
Kathy Labuda, District 2 Legislator.
Karen Hilgerson, President of SUNY Sullivan. Cindy Kerpel-Geiger, District 5 Legislator.
Gene Benson, District 7 Legislator.
Annie is the clerk of the legislature, a very important person. If you want anything through this the government body, you need to reach out to Annie.
She's the 10th legislator, just so you know.
I'm Kitty Vetta, District 3, and I'm the chair of the Government Services and the co-chair of the legislature.
Josh Potosi, County Manager.
Kathy Jones, I'm Director of Purchasing.
Ed McHenry, Commissioner of Public Works.
Angela Chevalier, County Auditor.
Kenneth Walter, Citizen.
I want to see your papers.
Kitty is also on your board of directors.
Yes, we met
okay.
during the interview process. Well, thank you for the warm welcome. I might need your names again at some point, over the next couple months, but my name is Colleen Monahan. I have to thank my leadership and the staff here for really supporting me and coming here to show me the ropes. I appreciate that, being the new kid on the block. I come from 7 years in county government down in Orange County at the Youth Bureau, doing contract management and consultation for about 57 nonprofits and municipalities. So I have that background, and also prior to that, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Orange County, working on performance management and metrics related to national affiliations. So I'm really excited to bring that experience here to Cornell Cooperative Extension because of that connection to the university, and bringing it to the local level. My first day was Monday, and there were bulldozers and BOCES students breaking ground on the high tunnel, so that's really, really exciting for me, along with the roofing project and the centennial events. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you through those avenues. And as Joan mentioned, I would love to get together with each of you to learn what your ideas and vision are for cooperative extension and needs for your districts from us. So.
And just to let you all know, Colleen lives in Ulster County. Right across the road is Sullivan County. And her family for 4 generations has owned a camp farm, not quite, family complex outside of Liberty on 100 acres.
Yep,
So-
we're just off Dahlia Road.
So she's familiar with the county, and we're, as I say, excited.
Where in Ulster? I'm just curious.
Walker Valley?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right under Sam's
Nice little
Point.
golf course down there.
I don't think it's
It used
functional
to
right
be.
now. They're building all kinds of Buddhist temples
Well-
around there, so there's interesting things happening.
Welcome, and
Thank
thank
you.
you, and I look forward to working with you and having cooperative extension move forward in this county.
Absolutely, and Pat has left a really nice foundation.
She
where
has,
the staff
so
are
you have to live up
hopeful.
to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best, and the staff seems really hopeful and optimistic, so thank you for that.
I thank you, and you've been an excellent group to work with, and I'm not just saying that, of course. Well, I'm good at, am I running for an office, he asked me, you know, 'cause I said, I come back and see you all, he says, you sound like a politician now, but I truly do mean this, that I've enjoyed communicating with you and working with you on behalf of Cooperative Extension, and thank you for the support, because at the state level, I'm responsible for understanding and getting the message out across New York State about cooperative extension, which means I'll be working with Colleen, and if you also have some needs around the area of economic impact, community development, any of those components, we can try and work with you to get that information.
Thank
Okay?
you. And now for Cooperative Extension's monthly report.
And I apologize, we don't have extra copies, but I will email and leave copies for everyone by tomorrow. And I will give you this copy once I'm done. Ag and natural resource update. We have been very busy between working with the planning department and Cornell on the farmland protection plan, and we'll have a presentation at the planning committee. So we won't spend too much time on it, but we're hoping, by December to have that adopted. But we've really been working to get as much input as we can, and it's been really helpful with, on the Cornell side, looking into 2015 with what we're doing with our programs as well. We've also just been providing assistance again for the dairy processing project. Educational programming, we've been pretty busy with the Bethel Woods Harvest Farm Fest. Everyone was on board with that all across all of Cornell, and it's the first time they've done that, so that was really great. They did it in cooperation with us, and hopefully we'll do that again next year. And we were able to bring back the Corn Plat Field Day again, where farmers could get pesticide recertification, so that was really good, and it was our biggest turnout yet, so that was a success. And we've just been really busy with all types of questions, and I know this is October, but we just had last weekend a really successful orchard management workshop on Friday, and we had people come from outside the state, upstate, all over, and it was a really good turnout. And the next day we actually went to one of our new emerging farms who does hard cider, and he's really the only one in the country that does it with his technique, so it's pretty exciting right here, and people got to tour that.
Where is that?
In Wurtsboro. And we just have a bunch of upcoming programs. Again, the marketing of livestock, that's not on the that's not happening now. We're pushing that back, but there's a few different ones coming up, and that'll be on there we can look at. Master Gardener program, we had a really successful seed saving class. Over 40 people attended. The Junior Master Gardener series, first time we've done that, came to an end in September, and it was very successful, and the kids learned how to harvest their own food and make harvest their own vegetables and make food with it. 4-H, they've been very busy. They are at the end, the Farm Fest they participated in, the teen groups, the state fair, everyone has seen the exhibits downstairs, so stop by and check that out. So that's going on right now. The shooting sports group that just was started is going well. And there's a whole bunch of upcoming programs with STEM. The Centennial Family Hike is on the 18th at Cornell. That starts at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, come around, bring your families and hike on Turtle Trail, and that's a 4-H program we have. And we're also in the re-enrollment periods and record review time. Family and Consumer Science, the Caregiver Resource Center, Bonnie's been really busy with that, with the different support groups she has going on, a bunch of different upcoming programs with Hospital to Home. I know she talked about that at a few meetings ago. Senior Safety Day, participating in the Alzheimer's Walk, Health and Wellness Day, so she's really out there doing a lot. And as Colleen said, we broke ground on the High Tunnel on Monday, so that's exciting, and the BOCES students have been back out working on that, and the program there's really definitely a need for it. We've had a good turnout on our programs related to high tunnels and greenhouses, so we hope to continue that for next year and continue educating about season extensions. So really busy in a nutshell.
I'm sorry, can I just add this, in terms of programming, and Colleen doesn't know this and Joan doesn't know this because I got the email about 11 last night that this region has been funded for the SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Education Program. Remember, Sullivan was written out in terms of not meeting the qualifications for the RFP. Well, 1.2 million has been given to the Hudson Valley region, which includes from Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Dutchess, Sullivan, Putnam. Putnam is not in because they do not have a nutrition program. But Sullivan is back in Orange County. It would be the lead association during the hiring, but you will have a resource educator here in Sullivan County to cover Eat Smart New York. So I have to fill our new director in with that information. Okay, when we leave.
And the SNAP program?
Supplemental Nutrition Education Program, which is Eat Smart New York, the food stamp education program.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's good to be back in.
Okay, good.
Our county needs that.
Yeah, sure do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan, County Clerk.
Good morning. If I may, I'm gonna just go back to the Bloomingburg matter, if I may, because we were on the receiving end of that. All those motions and paperwork were funneled through our office. And my only point in raising that is the level of communication that went through during this process was outstanding between the county attorney's office and the court's office. We were made aware of the attorney's progress up 17, where they were along the way, and we waited for them so they could file the appropriate motions. But kudos go out to the county attorney's office. They made sure we didn't swallow them up, and they were able to find their way back to the courthouse, and it went well. On another note, and I'm going to ask Colleen to partially cover her ears, for those who have read in the paper of late, Orange County has considered closing 2 of its satellite DMV offices, both in Port Jervis and in Newburgh. We're monitoring that quite closely. I believe we're going to be the beneficiaries of that. We've already seen an uptick in the number of dealers that have come to Sullivan County, which has been great because that's offset the loss in the pedestrian traffic. But we're monitoring that pretty closely to see what's going to materialize. And that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Corinne, Sullivan County Community College.
I know we're short on time, so I will attempt to be as brief as I can. The first thing is, just to segue that between this meeting and the last meeting, we had a really good meeting, Cindy Cashin and I, with Patricia and Maria from Cornell Cooperative Extension. And the topic was really focused on food and beverage manufacturing, and trying to begin discussions about a model that to some extent could begin at Cornell Cooperative Extension and then move over to the college for additional industry assistance on food and beverage manufacturing. So we are moving forward with our food and beverage manufacturing labs. That will be our second manufacturing lab. Our PLC lab is ready to go, not officially opened yet, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But the food and beverage list was submitted to CGAM, and they're the funders of this project. Yes? No. 3 days ago, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. And I think we've got some really good, we ended up with 4 stations in the lab. And this is a lab that can serve industry. So industry, small to mid-sized manufacturers of food and beverages can come into this lab and get assistance. And our culinary students will be using the lab to enhance the current curriculum, creating a culinary program that isn't just designed to serve hotels, but it's designed to serve entrepreneurs who might consider opening up small food and beverage manufacturing or mid-sized businesses. It will have a corner dedicated to fermentation, and there's pretty expensive equipment there. It will have a corner devoted to some lab analysis equipment related to distillation of alcohol, and this was a request by our regional distillers. It will have, and this will be the largest area of the room, is dedicated to bottling. That's gonna be interesting because the room's not that big, so, but we're ordering the equipment, we're going to try to make it work, but, and we've heard that, and the bottling also includes labeling as well. And we're really hoping that some of our graphic art students will help with labels for industry because they do some really cool stuff, the students. And then the 4th area of the lab that we're struggling a little bit with, but we want to do it, but we want to do it right. And we do have on the list a vacuum packing machine that Maria had recommended, and it can take, basically sucks all the air out of whatever the food is so that you could freeze it or store it. What it doesn't do, and this is the one item I hope we can afford, it doesn't know how to wrap around a dish with a meal in it. And what I'd like to have is some equipment that can take somebody's meal, like a TV dinner, but a healthy TV dinner, okay? Think Annie's and Amy's, okay. Not banquet. And take that, take that, put it in a pan and put some plastic over it, and usually that's a cryogenic process to really make that shovable and according to USDA standards. One of the things Maria was really helpful with was helping us understand that the USDA sanitation and safety and all of those regulatory issues that hopefully our industry reps will already know because you're already probably eating their product or drinking their product. So, but it's definitely something that I think Cornell could really help us with and help the entrepreneurs that start with you. And if they want to expand and do more, they can head over to the college and get some help there as well.
And this will go with the startup?
It could, but it's not really related at this point. I mean, ideally, that would be great, but it really is a lab designed to assist manufacturers now with the actual sort of troubleshooting around what they do, or teach them, what they're going to need to start a small business. Now, ideally, some of them are gonna say, gee, I think I really wanna do this. I'm gonna make it, and can I apply for your Startup New York? And of course we would say yes, because it's in direct alignment with our Startup New York plan. And we have hired an engineer, the board approved that last month, to start making the 18-acre swath of land shovel ready. Luckily they bid the project. We did go through a regular bidding process and had a number of engineers interested. I'm blanking on the name of the one that we picked. It starts with a P, but it has 4 phases, and we think because of SUNY match money from the Federal Roadway Project, we're confident that we'll be able to fund all 4 phases. And because the price tag of that is about $90,000. And this is just the engineering documents. That's not even the shovel-ready capital work. But in that process, we will have an idea of how much that will cost. And there might be businesses that we attract who are willing to actually do the work if the documents are done, right? But we're just moving along as best we can with the funding that we're getting from the SUNY system. That all connects to our Healthy World Institute. We are on Plan B with fundraising. We have hired a business plan writer. The foundation has hired for us, and she's really quite reasonable, and she's going to develop a plan, a very detailed plan that we can take to seek donations and to continue to attempt to access that $10.5 million that is allocated for SUNY Sullivan in Albany for a project like this. So we're not giving up, we're just going to Plan B. We also will reapply for 2020. I've had several meetings about our proposal. Part of it was clearly geographical, but that's a topic for another time. I was told that our proposal was rated high, and so, but also given some great advice on how to make it even stronger for the next round of SUNY 2020. So we've already started to look at that. We're not going to have to make very many changes to the existing proposal based on the information that I got on the phone, but there are some little things that I think we can do. So we'll keep working on that. We are just beginning development of an ultrasound program, because the whole concept of the Healthy World Institute are programs related to health, of people, of our food and our water systems, and of our environment. So that's the big umbrella. And so one of the things we decided is that we would move all our health programs, add another one, ultrasound technology, into that new facility. We would have Nourishment Arts there, that's at the state. It's, you know, we will also have an office for us. We know SUNY Morrisville is on board. The president and I reached an agreement to share a full-time, and that's really the key, a full-time faculty person who will be housed in Sullivan County. We're aiming for next fall. They won't be in a new building next fall, but they'll be in an office next fall. And they will be tasked with teaching upper division courses, with coordinating adjuncts for upper division courses, and it will be a bachelor's degree in a business management program through SUNY Morrisville at SUNY Sullivan. One of the things, and we've done similar programs like this before, but the mistake that has been made, and I've seen the same mistake made at a number of colleges, is they try to do it with part-time faculty, and it doesn't work. The key is to have a person who gets a decent salary and benefits, who will live in Sullivan County, whose primary job is recruiting students, that in addition to teaching and checking out for quality control, they're gonna be constantly seeking students. Otherwise, these programs die very quickly. You saturate your market quickly. So we're really excited about that. The SUNY system will not allow SUNY Sullivan, or any community college for that matter, to become a four-year college. They just won't, they flat out won't do it. And so really, I think the best approach, the fastest approach, and the more economical approach is one that uses other SUNY campuses, but to woo them to Sullivan County. And I'm really pleased that Bill Morabito was willing to come to an agreement with me on this one. So, and we're also going to go for SUNY IT, which is now been renamed SUNY Pi. Don't ask me why. Well, there was a merger. We'd also like to work on Cornell Cooperative Extension and bring a master's degree in hospitality at some point, but we just don't have enough hands on deck right now to explore that as seriously as we would like, but we'll get there. Solar array, it's been up and down on a daily basis. The college ran into some issues with the developer's bank due to the wind turbine default. Unforeseen, unexpected, but every day is different. Thanks to Tom and Lori, who really did their best, and we're gonna keep trying, but and I think we found a solution yesterday, so I think that piece is okay. Now we're waiting for a NYSERDA extension, and it's not our grant, it's the Helios H grant. Aileen Gunther is helping. This became extremely high stakes when we convinced the SUNY system to match this project with money for other maintenance and sustainability initiatives on campus. We're counting on this match money to repair roofs, to develop other energy systems that will be sustainable. We've got we can do landscaping with this money if we use green landscaping. What I'm sharing with you is that if this project comes in at $5 million, SUNY Albany is saying we'll give you $5 million over the next couple of years for these other similar types of upgrades. So this became huge, which is why I called Scott right away, help, the project is in jeopardy, and then Scott reached out to the attorneys. It's been every day up and down, and it's still not resolved, but hopefully it will get resolved. The last thing I'll do is show you a picture. One of the things that I've noticed about campus this year is that there's just a lot of life, and it's really fun to see. Last year we did a student completion day, and it felt like a ghost town. I thought, what is going on? You know what? So it just didn't work. And so we sort of debriefed that issue from last year, and people really planned well in advance. And this was the lobby. I mean, it was literally, we brought in a great speaker who did Why Did the Dinosaurs Get Murdered? He's actually got a sister in Sullivan County, and Dr. Taggart came and spoke about dinosaurs. He was marvelous. The theater was literally almost full, which usually doesn't happen in the middle of the day at SUNY Sullivan. And then after that, we had cake, and we had Gabe Ricard playing music in the lobby. We had our new transfer specialist, Clue. We had some individuals from financial aid ready to go. I mean, it was just extremely well organized. And when I walked out of that theater, the people were still in the theater, and I saw this, and I went, okay, now this is completion day. The students were asked to sign a commitment to complete pledge in all of their classes. And if they didn't have class that day, they got to walk up to a table, sign the pledge, and they got a piece of cake. So there was a direct, link to cake. But
Exactly.
and it worked. So, but it was really great. It was really fun, and
Just remember what happened to Marie Antoinette.
Oh, that's real.
Be very careful.
Okay, we will. Our theater person's on board, and she's just a real dynamo. We have never seen so much use of she has, her new first production will be in November. The one I'm going to invite all of you to will be the musical. I think it'll be less profane because frankly the students chose the first one, and but it was a great way to get good engagement, I have to give it that. But it's like, oh, your children. Anyway, so but she's doing some fun things in the evening for our residence hall students. This Friday night is karaoke night, and it's not just regular old karaoke night, it's pick your favorite Disney song. And so all the songs are going, and wear a costume if you want. So every week there's been stuff going on. It's been a really great start with all our other issues that we're experiencing. The energy and the spirit among the students is definitely apparent. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think it's time to move on to the resolutions. The first resolution is to modify resolution number 376-14, which is International Contractors Corporation.
Motion.
Jean, second.
Is there any discussion on this item? Is there any questions regarding this?
I trust Ed.
Gotta get it done, right, Ed?
Yes, we do.
I trust Ed.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
The second resolution is to authorize award and execution of agreement with the eWorks ESI for collection, removal, and recycling of e-scrap. I need a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, and second by Alan. Any discussion on this item? So I call the question. All in favor?
4-0.
The third resolution, to authorize award and execution of a contract with Field Landscaping and Tyler Associates, the LLC, for 2015 lawn mowing services for various locations throughout the county. Can I have a motion?
Alan. Second, Jean.
Okay, any discussion on this item? All in favor?
4-0.
And the final resolution is to authorize award and execution of agreement with P&N Fire and Burglar Alarm Company, Inc., for security systems at the Emergency Operations Center. A motion?
Motion.
Alan, Jean,
Whatever.
is there any discussion on this item?
John, you good with this? I'm good with it. Okay. That's the only question I had.
Okay, so then I call the question, all in favor?
4-0.
Okay, so that concludes the Government Services Committee's reports and presentations, and now I'm open to public comment. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Kenny. Welcome, Colleen.
Thank you.
There's been nothing but good vibes coming out of Extension for a long time. Ever since Greg came on and Pat's been here, and the legislature's been doing a good job at it too. Couple of things. When it comes to hard cider, one of the things I've experienced in my life is called seed rut. cider is Spanish hard cider, which is carbonated. So it may be something to look into. It's very hard to find, but it's very good and so forth. The other thing is it came up in Office for the Aging Advisory Board meeting, and I think it's something that the legislature should look at as a policy. Cornell requires, if you look at their thing, anything that goes out of the extension has to have the Cornell logo up in the left-hand corner, required. We fund it. I think we should have our logo on the other side. I think we should be out there all the time being part of that, so whenever a piece of paper gets sent out, people know that Sullivan County is funding it and we're part of it. And I think we should ask them to do that as a legislature, since we do that. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. I hope that Cornell hears the public comment. Any other public comment?
I'll comment as public. Just a little, I'd like to call it advice to you. Contact your soil and water people who work in the same building and speak with Jack Danchik from the Sportsman's Federation. They have a lot of conservation programs that might be worked on together.
And you're gonna make a motion to adjourn?
Now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jean, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attendance.